Hey guys, so this video is inspired by a conversation that I had with one of my friends and clients. This guy called Samir Mithwani, killer in ecom, does like a couple of M's a month. And basically we were just chilling in Bali a few days ago at his, and we were discussing how to get one of his brands to go from $1 million a month to 3 million a month in revenue. And that kind of got me thinking about what the process would be like in order to actually scale a brand from 100 to 300K a month all the way up to $1 million a month. Because that's actually where majority of my clients are in terms of the 100 to 500K per month range. I have quite a few brands over 2-3 M's, but like they're definitely like around 25% of our portfolio of clients. So it inspired me to make this presentation where I'm going to show you guys how I typically recommend brands to scale, because there's kind of two methods, right? The standardized way and also what I call like the Chad way. I joke about it with my friends, where it's just so much easier if you just nail these three things, and it's going to enable so much further scale. So let's dive into this presentation. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So when it comes to growing ecom brands, right, there's typically the standard approach versus the Chad scale method, which we were kind of like joking about. Which is, when it comes to the standard way, everybody knows that, you need to increase your average order value because your CAC rises over time. You need to have a great email and SMS backend. By the way, if you're a 7-figure brand or an 8-figure brand, hit me up for email and SMS. We're going to absolutely kill it for you. Just, book a call first, link in the description. And you also want to have like a creative system that auto generates UGC ads, video ads, image ads, whatever. So that way you can ramp up your volume drastically when it comes to creative testing. Other things, you want to, and this is more so dependent on your niche, mess around with things like advertorials, listicles, VSLs to kind of increase your conversion rates on the actual website and on the actual ads, right? But those are quite difficult things to do. Things like, dropping your cost of goods sold through either increasing your volume or just, building a better supply chain for your brand, improving cash flow through like better payment terms, or like just increasing credit lines to let you scale ad spend more aggressively. But I'll be honest, like those things are relatively difficult to do, right? But this does work. The standard approach works. It's just high effort, but the standard way means that you can basically do it in literally any niche, right? But when it comes to the Chad scale method, I don't know why I coined it that. I just thought it was kind of funny. But basically there's 3 key things of the brands that I work with that typically scale from 0 to $1 million in like 45 days. Like these are very seasoned dropshipping guys that I work with, and they always are able to consistently get a brand from 0 to about 1 to 2 million a month within about like a 30 to 60 day range, right? Literally starting from scratch. And the 3 things that I see these brand owners all have in common is either they differentiate an existing product in some way, shape, or form, and I'll get to that. I'll get to like very specific examples of all 3 of these things, or they provide some sort of like innovative, creative angle when it comes to their video ads or the style in which they just market, essentially, right? Or they just simply go after a very untapped audience. In most cases, though, I'll be honest, if you want to go from 0 to $1 million a month in like 30 days, you're gonna need to do like a combination of these 3 things. So let's talk about product differentiation first, right? The example I wanted to bring up was creatine gummies. They were able to scale up insanely fast because they went super viral, and they essentially differentiated a very generic and commoditized product, creatine, without actually serving up something completely new in terms of like a chemical, right? And the reason why I chose these guys is because product differentiation is actually a lot easier than people think, right? Because, for example, in their case, right, old creatine is that powdered stuff that either tastes artificial if you try to, like make it sweeter or whatever, or it just tastes bland and crap and like dusty on your throat, right? You have to scoop it into water, shake it, clean the shaker afterwards. It's just high effort, right? Whereas they innovated on the format of the actual product and the delivery mechanism of the product. So the reason why I wanted to highlight these guys to you specifically, because most people, when they think about product differentiation and like innovation in any given market, they always think that you have to like change up something drastic about the actual product itself. But a lot of the cases, when it comes to innovation and differentiation, it's much easier to just simply serve up the product in like a different font or like a different delivery mechanism, right? So for example, in the weight loss space, one of the things that came about very recently is Ozempic, right? Ozempic is this like miracle injection people now take to actually lose weight, right? Essentially, what's very interesting about Ozempic is that their delivery mechanism is like an injection, right? And the difference between weight loss pills and injections is that injections has a much higher perceived likelihood of delivering the end outcome. So by association, people, when they hear Ozempic, an injection, they just think, okay, this as a weight loss solution is more likely to work. Just like how in this case, when it comes to creatine gummies, people have this association of creatine of, okay, it doesn't taste great, it's kind of long to clean up, you know, like you have to scoop it, mix it, and you have to have like that dirt-like feeling in your throat once you drink it, and like you kind of bite the little crystals in your teeth afterwards as well, right? It's horrible. But when they created the creatine gummies, immediately you can instantly tell, okay, I don't need to do the mixing step, and also I'm guessing this doesn't taste like dirt when I chew it, right? Because the association with gummies is all like this soft, squishy, sweet thing, right? So by just changing the font of the product itself and changing the delivery mechanism, basically, you're able to instantly enter a class of your own when it comes to product differentiation. And now suddenly, your ad angles will look instantly different. The perception around your product is instantly different. Because even though they're still selling creatine, they're now going about it completely differently. And honestly, this is a much better way to differentiate versus the traditional way of differentiating. Because for example, right, if I were to tell you to start a creatine brand without showing you these guys, instead of starting creatine gummies, you would have probably tried to create like a creatine, like micronized creatine, right? It mixes easier. Like you're trying to improve on the underlying product when most of the time people just want the problems with the product solved. And a lot of the times you solve that by just creating something slightly different in terms of delivery mechanism. So that's essentially one of the easiest ways to actually differentiate your product. And we can think of many examples for this, right? As I said with like the injection example. And we can think of many examples outside of even Ozempic, right? So for example, originally it was like fat burning pills, and then it became like weight loss tea because it's like herbal, right? The perception around the product is essentially what creates the differentiation. Now let's talk about the second really important thing when it comes to scaling from a couple 100,000 a month to millions and millions a month. And the case I wanted to bring up specifically is this brand called Prime Prometics. We work with one of their close competitors, and we know for a fact that Prime Prometics is doing millions a month. They're well into the 8 figures range, and they do so by targeting an untapped audience, right? Obviously, the example I gave is Thrive Cosmetics. They're like a huge brand also, but like the point I'm trying to make is, right, if you're a new entrant into any given market, you want to find a niche within that audience that's not really being served. So if you think about it, right, in terms of the cosmetic space, who are most brands marketing to? They're all marketing to the same audience, which is your 20 to 35-year-old women. How do you know this? Well, you can tell by the models that they use in terms of like the age of the models that they use on their pictures. You can also tell by like the styling and the branding itself. Like they're very young. Like if I were to show you the example of Kylie Cosmetics, for example, they're going after a very young demographic, right? Obviously, because it's Kylie Jenner behind it, it's like, it makes sense. But what I'm saying is, if you're trying to create a makeup line, for example, you're competing with the likes of her, right? You're competing with the Kylie Jenners of the world, and you just simply, you don't have the appeal, you don't have the budget, you don't have the reach, right? So just by going after an untapped audience, in this case with Prime Prometics, in terms of going after like an older demographic, you instantly, again, cast yourself into a category of one, in the sense that, you know, like your ads can target, for example, if I was selling like mascara to older women, right? I would target in the copy, like maybe mention words like chemo warriors, right? Because they may have just gone through chemotherapy, in which case their lashes have fallen off. Use older models and UGC creators for the actual creatives themselves to do the product demonstrations, etc. And that will literally allow you to tap into a completely separate audience because the language you use is going to be fundamentally different, right? Because when it goes back to perception, right? To an older woman, if they see a 25-something-year-old transform like their eyebrows with this product, they might not necessarily believe it's possible for them as well, just because they're older, maybe more of the hairs have fallen out, etc. They have like wrinkles or whatever. Right? So just by going after a certain niche within your demographic, you're instantly able to stand out. And you can see they actively do this because even on their homepage, their hero scene is literally 3 older women here again. Like, this is really a brand that is built for your aunties and like your grandmas, right? And that's awesome. They've made it work. So if I were to take this example and go into other markets, for example, right? One of the underserved markets right now is actually older men, right? So one of our brands that we've been working with for, I think, almost 2 years now at this point, they sell golf polos to dads specifically, right? And they've been wonderfully successful in that space because they were able to identify like a need in the market for fun, fitted clothes for like people with dad bods, right? So they were able to scale with that angle. But you could take this even outside of fashion and cosmetics, you know, like you could take this to supplements, for example, right? Think about the typical protein powder and like gym supplement and who they are being targeted for, right? Or it's mostly targeted at your 20 to 30-year-old gym goer who's super young, just got into weightlifting, bodybuilding, aesthetics. They're using people with like 6-packs and stuff. If you were to just literally create like a sports supplement line targeted to something like 35-year-old plus men who care a bit more about like joint health, mobility, etc. Like you interweave some of your ingredients, use the older guys for your UGC ads, etc., and just brand it for like an older demographic, you're going to be able to instantly stand out. And I promise you, if that was the case, your CAC, even on something like whey protein, is going to be so much lower than if you were to build like a boring generic brand targeting the same audience that every single fitness brand is targeting. Other examples that kind of come to mind is like there's this brand called Asket where they basically make shirts for shorter men as well. And obviously men under 6 foot is like a big portion of the population, right? Like myself included, I'm like 5'9", you know? So they make shirts that are a bit shorter so that short men essentially could have clothes to wear, right? And they were able to also scale like crazy. So you literally just need to take a product that's a winning product, apply it to an audience that will also have the same use cases for it, but just are underserved in some way, and you can instantly like basically double your revenue. Obviously, once you get to that couple million a month, if you want to break into the 9 figures territory, yes, you're going to have to go after the main audiences and the big boy audiences and go more mass appeal. But if you just want to get to 8 figures, bro, like audience differentiation is one of the easiest ways to actually scale your brand. Now, the last thing that I wanted to talk about was actually innovative creative angles. And I can't think of any other brand except LifeVac that right now like top of mind. Obviously, I don't want to like reveal my own clients, but like LifeVac kills it within the creative angle space, right? And rather than just, you know, walking you through here, I figured I'd just show you their Facebook ad library, right? So if you go on Facebook ad library, filter by United States, all ads, and just search up LifeVac, you'll see these are their ads, right? Watch this. Like, this is what their video ads look like.
It's a family crisis that's unfolding in real time. A mother is patting her 10-month-old baby boy on the back after he starts choking on a piece of pancake. He kind of hit him on the back, but okay, you know, he's got this, he's gonna get down. But the little guy's parents, John and Jane Kohler, quickly realized this is serious. He was turned blue, and it happened really fast.
Do you see how innovative this is? This is disguised as like drama. This is a kid is dying, right? As the hook, you know? And now suddenly it's like this person right here runs out, gets a LifeVac, and saves the day, right? Fundamentally, LifeVac is a product that saves kids from choking. And the thing with this product itself is it's actually very difficult to advertise because by the time the demand happens, it's already too late. So you're essentially selling like a preventative solution. Now, by doing it, by running the video ads in the way of like news and making it seem legit, right? It creates the demand and puts the thought in the parent's mind like, oh my God, that could literally be my kid, right? My kid we could be sitting at a restaurant, kid eats like a fry or something and just suddenly starts choking and God forbid dies. And now suddenly, if I just had this on hand, I could save my kid's life, right? So they create the demand versus if they were to go after like a generic product demonstration video ad, which is literally just like, yeah, with a baby dummy, you put it in its mouth, you suck the whatever, like the choking thing out, and boom, you're good, right? That doesn't get eyeballs. But the news angle creates problem, creates drama, makes parents feel something. This is like the third way of innovating when it comes to scaling from 0 to $1 million a month plus. And the reason why I wanted to highlight LifeVac is because this is such like an extreme example that's very obvious that it's like creative marketing. But essentially, to stand out in any given market, you don't even need to get like as creative as LifeVac. You could literally just do like 30% better than the market and you're going to be able to dominate, right? So let's think about some kind of like examples when it comes to innovative marketing. I mean, back in the day, it was actually about attention arbitrage, right? So when you think about how brands like Gymshark came up, they essentially leveraged an attention vehicle. Back then it was influencers that was underpriced, right? So back when Gymshark popped off, they were essentially getting influencers that were worth 100K in brand deals, but they were able to get it for like 5,000. Right? Or even free sometimes. And then when TikTok first launched, TikTok was like a huge hub of attention that was severely underpriced. Same with like Facebook ads back in like 2013, etc. But now it's less so about like finding unsaturated channels. Now it's actually just about creating interesting angles for the individual channels themselves. So most recently I can think of is like Tab's Chocolate, right? Tab's Chocolate was able to exit for multi 7 figures. I think it was like $8 million. Or something. That's what I heard on the streets. And they essentially built up a sex chocolate brand, right? They took a very generic product like chocolate, but because they branded it and they innovated, right, through sex chocolates, which was essentially, they just put some like herbs like macaroon and various kind of like plant-based things into it and branded it as sex chocolate, right? They were able to differentiate their product, and in terms of their marketing angles and their creative angle, they essentially pulled a bunch of influencers onto a Discord and just got people to run affiliates for them. So that's not even necessarily like an innovative creative angle. They did differentiate their product. They literally just found an interesting way to use the creative platforms itself, which at the time was TikTok, right? So when I say creative angles, don't just think, how can I make my video ad more engaging? Think about how can I just amass attention in general in like a creative or crazy way. And that's genuinely how I've seen like the brands that I work with at least scale the fastest from multi 7 figures to multi 8 figures. I really hope you found some value in this. If you want kind of more information and just learn ecom from me in general, I have like a free ecom newsletter linked below. And if you are a brand that's doing over 50K a month, all the way up to 3 million a month, you should really book in a call because we would kill your email and SMS marketing. Like we would destroy it. So book in a call on my website and I'll see you guys in the next one.